This is Immigrant Podcast with Robinson.
Welcome everybody to the Immigrant Podcast with Robinson. Today I'm honored to have on the show Orzu Kamolova. Orzu, welcome to the show.
Hi, Robinson. Thank you for having me today.
It's a big pleasure. Orzu, it's a polyglot. Orzu speaks, as far as I know, 5 languages, among them English, French, Tajik, Uzbek, and Russian.
Mm-hmm.
She has multiple publications, mainly related to the Moodle Platform and teaching in general. And she's held positions at Champlain College, Universite de Montreal, Concordia University, and other places. Anything else that I should add here, Orzu?
Maybe also to add up McGill and the United Nations. I'm very modest. You see how I am today?
United Nations, that's a big name for sure. It's I think it's a place a lot of people like to work
Right.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So today we have a very interesting topic, and I would like to learn a lot more about it. And I think it's something that every single human goes through in life, I would say, is the imposter syndrome. What is it?
Well, have you ever have thoughts about like it's only because they like me? I was in the right place at the right time, or it's just because when I entered to the interview, I had a beautiful smile on my face, or because my dress was beautiful, or I was, like joking, laughing, or that's why people like me because I'm likable, or because it was pure luck and a great alignment of stars, right? So all the thoughts we have, this is imposter syndrome, because we believe that what happened to us, all the achievement we had, is just because of the pure luck. It's just because something was there, someone made a mistake, or it was a technical error, or they were drunk, and that's why they look at you differently. During the interview, it could be because you entered with a beautiful smile, and that's why right away people liked you because of the first impression, right? Or people say, oh, it's a beginner's luck, and you always hear these expressions around you. It can be in the family, it can be with friends, and then you start thinking, oh, it's true. So it's not me. It's not me as a competent, as a strong woman. It's just a pure luck. So this kind of phenomena we call imposter syndrome, or imposter phenomenon, or imposter experience. Usually what research says, and it was even proved by the Journal of Behavioral Science, that 70% of successful people, especially women, they have this type of experiences when they think that what they achieved is just a fake, it's not them, it's luck, or they feel themselves like a fake or fraud, and those competences and skills they have is just because. Usually CEOs, lawyers, women, successful business women, students, like postgrad students, PhD students, they have this feeling that, oh, I don't deserve, I don't belong. How come I'm here? It's because people around them, they always make this kind of expressions. They say, oh, you are lucky. Oh, because it was great. Oh, it's because, nobody might say, it's because of you. Good for you. It's because you worked so hard. And that's what happens to you. So this kind of thoughts, it's not only in women. Yes, it also comes with men. But in our case, in our situation, what we are describing today as a team, as an immigrant woman, when you come to Canada, of course, there is the first challenge, it's your linguistic barrier. Then there is the education barrier. Then there is the networking barrier. Then there's a whole integration, assimilation process going on. And as being a woman, as being a mother, and as being a worker and taxpayer, there is so much happening in your life that you feel sometimes so overwhelmed, and you feel alone in all this isolation, and you think this is you, or it's just a pure luck. It has nothing to do with mental disease. It has nothing to do with low esteem issues or anxiety. It's a phenomenon which happens to you. It can be very situational in a context, or it can be abroad. Like, for example, in my case, if I share my own personal experience, I never had it in my personal life, like in terms of, am I a good wife? Am I a good lover? Am I a good mother? I never had any doubts that someone gonna figure it out that I'm a bad mother or whatever. But when it comes to my professional life, I was called a Moodle queen. I was called as that I'm the most competent woman in Quebec as someone who's had this expertise in Moodle. And when people would praise me, I would say, oh my God, I'm such a fake. I have nothing. I don't know anything about Moodle, and they think that I am so competent. Oh
So
my
you mean
God.
that you've had these thoughts, even though a lot of people have
Yes,
been calling you great names, you still
exactly.
think that I'm
Right.
not good enough.
Exactly, because when you're alone on the top, it's very, very lonely. And being a woman, an immigrant, someone who speaks English or French as a fifth or sixth language, and being alone, it was very, very unsatisfying, because I thought, oh my God, I'm the only woman among all these men who are experts, amazing people in Moodle and other platforms, in LMS. And here you go, look at her, little immigrant woman who comes here and starts sharing her thoughts and her expertise about Moodle and goes to international conferences and talks about Moodle as if it's her baby, So I had this thought, but then in one moment, of course, it comes with maturity. It comes with different conversations with professional people, Sometimes you do need to talk about this in order to realize that, hey, kings and lords shit, so do ladies. What do I mean by that? Everybody has a flaw. Everybody has a little something. Everybody has this doubt about their competences and skills, especially women, especially when they're in a very high top places, I was the greatest universities ever, right? And I was in the beautiful places with people talking meaningful conversations. And when they would listen to me, and I would have a big audiences just listening to me, I would say, oh my God, I'm talking with my broken English and explaining them such a complex platform and showing them. Oh my God, they might be thinking I'm so incompetent. Like this kind of thought I had in front of 200 people when I was doing public speaking. Even though people looked at someone who's so confident, who knows what she's talking about, my posture, my smile, my face, everything was showing, right? But I was thinking, oh my God, I'm faking it. So you know what I mean? So this comes with a little situational experience.
Right.
But if it becomes norm, if it becomes like you're talking about this for yourself all the time, that's a problem. So there are this amazing book. The name is Secret Thoughts of Successful Women, written by the author and the public speaker, Dr. Valerie Young. She describes it amazingly well, exactly in the context of women who are in a very high top, jobs and managerial jobs. And she talks about how it manifests, what kind of thoughts you have, in which situation you have those thoughts. And then it talks also about how you could talk yourself down, have some tools and resources in order to understand what's happening to you and calm yourself down. Because most of the time, if you see that people are procrastinating, if they're not doing their job, or if they're like very perfectionist, right? Then it is also bad for the organizations because it costs so much money for the companies who are hiring these employees. But
Yes.
unfortunately, nobody talks about this. Nobody, have you ever seen a CEO who's coming to the office in front of the employees and says, hey, you know what? I don't feel confident about this job. Have you ever heard something like that? Managers
No
saying
one's
that
going to be honest enough.
Of course. So I think as a manager, me, in my experience, I realized I need to normalize it. When employee comes in, confidently tells me about some stuff, some fears, I normalize. Oh, it's imposter syndrome. It's okay. Everybody has that. Everybody goes through that, even me. And then you see the complete change, the paradigm in the room, and the person starts opening up and understands. Okay, that's normal. That's when even my boss or advisor or mentor has the same feelings, and I'm not alone. So basically, I think to start how to deal with that and help people to cope with this kind of feelings, imposter feeling, it's really to say you are not alone. You also could relate to that by giving the examples, right? To open up the door for this, meaningful conversations about this kind of things. But also, whenever you have this thoughts to say why I'm having them, what's happening, how come I came to this point that I had this thought? Usually, it's not when you're doing dishes. It's not when you're walking out your dog, you have imposter feeling. It always happens in the professional setting, in a very high stress, level, when you're doing something, when you need to present, and there are going to be lots of public who is going to pay attention to your work. That's where this imposter feeling always comes, because you know you're alone, because you know people think that you're expert in it, right? And you have this feeling. And then the most important thing is acknowledge this feeling. It's not a negative feeling, but it can be overwhelming if it is a pattern, if you always have that thought. So you accept the feeling, you say, I know I'm accepting this. So now why it happened? How come it happened? What was the consequences of the thought I'm having right now, right? And then slowly but surely, it takes practice, but you will be eventually there when it's all gonna be disappearing by itself. How I did it is that, first of all, I said, well, I'm not the only one. I shouldn't take things personally. It's gonna be happening anyways, because these people paid a lot of money, good money, to come and listen to me. That's mean I'm saying something meaningful. That's first thing, right? Second thing, don't think that people would be just judging you all the time, right? People, like for example, at work, if boss tells, for example, hey, be careful, take care of your written French, I used to think, oh my God, he's talking about me. I think it's me who is, like I would take things personal and I would say, it's about me. I know he's talking, even though like there are 45 people sitting in the room, I would say, okay, he's doing it for me. It's me. That's me. I have to, So this kind of thought, that's you understand that, okay, it has nothing to do with you. Please calm down. It's for everybody, right? And then you start, working on you, and you start doing better and better. And at the day, and you realize that, hey, you know what? This you are feeling because it is so rare that someone shares this type of fears. And that's why you think you're alone. And that's why you think that maybe you are a fraud. Maybe you're the only one who is like that, for example, taboo in mental illness, because now we are openly talking about this. We are even, I think it is so overrated now,
It's probably the case, yeah.
Yeah, everybody has mental illness now, and everybody talks about it so openly.
Either small or big or medium, yes, it's true.
Exactly. It becomes a topic of conversation, and people accept and normalize it now, and it became a norm. And this is amazing to have this, right, in our society. But imposter syndrome, I think people still kind of fear to talk about these things because they are in such a big, high-ranked positions where you are supposed to be very strong, you are supposed to be very, confident, and you shouldn't show your weakness to your employees and other people, right? You have to be a model for them. Model for yourself, it's another story in your head, how you're going to deal with that, but for the people. So that's why I find, coping mechanisms for the imposter syndrome is that you just need to say, first of all, okay, I'm accepting, it's just my thoughts. I'm going to take one day at a time, or I'm going to take one task at a time, and I'm going to do it. Well, if they're asking me to provide 80%, I will give them 80%. I'm not going to give them 100% because I asked them only 80%,
Right.
During my master's program, people would say, how are you doing it? Like, they are a mother, organizer, symposium president, and doing masters. And I'm like, I don't know. I just do it. I don't think even about this kind of things I'm doing it,
Right.
But when I entered to the professional world, when I started, being a manager, being a professional, seeing that people are listening to you, you was like, oh my God, people actually listen to me. People actually look at me as an expert.
Because you're still thinking about this imposter syndrome in your head.
Exactly, right? When I was doing my master's, I didn't have this kind of thoughts at all because I was with my peers, because nobody was paying me to do the job, right? So you're equal. And you can talk about your fears. You're not afraid that someone's going to judge you. But here, when you're in a professional field, you know you're being paid for something, for your knowledge, for your expertise, right? And of course, imposter syndrome was just right there. There's fear, there's doubts, especially language, which entered into the whole thing.
Right.
And that's how I started to think, oh my God, I'm having it. And then I started researching it and looking at it, and I realized I'm not the only one. And I started opening the door to this conversation, asking friends about it. And then I realized that, I'm not the only one,
It happens to
Sometimes,
everybody. Yeah.
yeah,
It's funny that you mentioned this
exactly.
because then I relate to it. And I used to tell this, and I think having this conversation with you, it's clear to me that I also had it or have it when it comes to teaching. So I was teaching English as a volunteer for 6 years. And I kept telling people, you know what? Once I started getting paid to teach, it didn't feel the same way.
No,
Because now
it's a pressure.
now there's a pressure, there's
Yes.
stress. Now, like, I need to demonstrate because people are paying me for this. When I was a volunteer, it was easy. I didn't have to worry about anything. It came natural. So I think it was imposter syndrome too.
It comes with the high working ethics, I also find, because you're so feeling responsible for whatever people are telling you to do. Yes, you are being paid for this as well, but there are some people who feel that they're doing something so meaningful, which gonna change the world, change the environment, right? Or change someone's life, that you kind of take care of what you're saying and how you're preparing the task. Right. Usually that's where you feel such a big, overwhelming responsibility that makes you feel at the same time like, fearful. Am I doing the right thing? How I'm doing this? Is it going to be giving them negative or positive impact? My words, because we know how words can kill or can heal. So this is very, very important to be ready, whatever you are passing, as conveying the message to the public, right? So another experience I had, which was very interesting, it was that I always landing the jobs from the first interview. Always. I never had such kind of thing like, oh, I have to go three times, or I was rejected, or whatever, The same thing was in my country. The same thing was here. So for me, it was like, wow, how come? How come I always get the job as the first time? What's happening? Is it because I am the government's famous 3% quota? Is it because I look like, immigrant woman who is going to this category of, or I need to fill out the quota? Oh, so it's not me. It's not my competencies and skills and my master's degree or my whatever. Oh, it's just my charisma and that I could manage very well the interview, or it's because government has this 3% quota for immigrants. That was awesome. At the same time, awful imposter feeling.
Yes.
But lately, I started completely reorganizing my life towards how I feel about the imposter syndrome, right? Now I am not modest. I'm not shy to talk about my competences and skills. I'm not shy to say, hey, I worked my ass off for wherever I am today. And I'm proud where I am today because it was due to my knowledge, my skills, my strengths, my hard work, And yes, I don't regret about anything what happened with all these feelings of imposter and stuff, right? But at the same time, I do believe that there is little luck. It has to be a little luck. Even here, your charisma, your smile, yes, first impression, it really helps, right?
It does.
It does. But at the same time, people, first impression fades, you start working, people see you, and then they look at your brain. They don't look at your looks anymore. They look at your mouth. They look what you're talking about, what comes out from your mouth, how smart you are. And they want to come to you and, ask your advice about something and just chit chat in the kitchen. And then you realize, my God, it wasn't luck. It was basically good decisions that they chose me because they knew exactly what they're doing,
Right.
So it comes really with time and with
practice.
age, practice, experience, and talking to people about this. Really, really, I find this is very important, especially for women, especially for us immigrants. very important to say, okay, the system is made to make me successful in this country. I do need to go and study if I'm missing something. I do need to improve my language if I need to. I know, like I need to work on my stuff in order to be successful. And yes, there are specific cases which might not work out, it is possible also. And there are some other people who just know the language and expertise, and that maybe they even never have this kind of imposter feeling, right? But most of us, majority of us, we have this feeling just embedded in our head.
Right.
Am I good enough? Can I do it? Or was it just pure luck and computer error when they took my application? That's why when it happens, you're like, oh, wow, I can't believe that's happening to me.
Right. It's true. And it could also be something that we acquired at home as we were growing up, either based on the region we were growing up at, the country, even the language. It could be something that we acquire from anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And as we come here as immigrants, I think imposter syndrome is, or it could be actually, I'm too tall, I'm too small, I'm white, I'm black, I don't speak the language well, I have a lot of qualifications, I don't have enough qualifications. It could go from 0 to 100. You don't really know where it's coming from. But I think we all have it. You've said so many things. In reality, normally I ask, what are your recommendations? But you already covered that. But as immigrants, I think, and I don't know if you agree with this, I think one of the first things that we really need to work on is the language skill, especially because we're in Quebec, so French is very, very important, even when sometimes we do not believe it, especially people in IT, which is what I do. I know you're close to IT as well, but probably you need more French. And then, as you said, go to the university, study, and also believe in your capabilities, in what you can do. Most of us came here as skilled workers, so we had to apply, we had to submit our diplomas and demonstrate our experience. So it's not by luck that we got the jobs that we have or that we're working for the companies working for. It's, as you said, it's because of the hard work and something that we already did in the past that built up, correct?
Yeah. But at the same time, it can be with Canadian born, whose language is native, right? And he's still top. But they also have this kind of feelings and, some moments where you're like overwhelmed and everything. I believe it comes with really being lonely at the top, and you cannot really share. In my own personal experience as a manager, you cannot sit there and share sometimes your fears with your employees, right? It has to be with a shrink, or it has to be with HR who can coach you, about different stuff.
Right.
But in the personal life, sometimes even people cannot talk about this to their own partners because they don't want to show their vulnerability, because they don't want to say that partner thinks that they're weaker, or they're having doubts about their parenting styles, or is it being a mother, or is it being a father, Right. And also I think it comes from the childhood. Like I feel mostly that if we always hear, oh, you were lucky, oh, you have great friends because you are lucky, oh, because it was a beginner's luck, oh, because you, like, all these things makes us believe that it's just pure luck and we don't belong here, and we need to cut this pattern. We need to teach our kids also using less words like luck, but using more words like, it's because you did this, that's why you got this, because of your hard work, because you studied, because you did this, and that's as awesome and that's amazing, to encourage our kids. And that's how they will grow with this feeling of hard work, yes, studying, and whatever they get from life in future, and not because, I was lucky, that's why I had it, Right. The only thing I can hear about lucky winner is when the lottery. That's really luck. Like, it's crazy. Like, one lottery for, I don't know, million or 2 million, right? That's, I understand. But here, I think you're really predisposed to be successful with the system we are living in. It just really takes some time, patience, and hard work. That's it.
Yeah, there's a great book out there called Outliers. I love the
Mm,
book. I don't know if you have read it, but it basically says nothing really happens by coincidence.
mm,
You look at famous sports athlete or someone, and you think, oh, it just happened all of a sudden.
yeah.
No, there were conditions for
Mm,
you, or so for me, for each person out there. There are conditions that make you who you are.
mm,
You are a famous soccer player, but when you realize that was your environment, that was 24/7,
mm.
and all your friends did this, and all of a sudden, yes, you become a famous athlete because that's all you did.
It's
It's not
true.
by coincidence, right? And yes,
It's true.
there's only one great football player in the world out
Mm,
of a million.
yeah.
But again, if you really look at the conditions, maybe at some point he met someone that was already famous, right?
Mm,
And I think Outliers as a book relates a lot to that imposter syndrome.
I
And
agree.
now that I talked about Outliers as a book, do you have any recommendations where to go? You mentioned one book that's pretty good. Are there other books, podcasts, or anything that you normally follow that you would recommend to the audience of this podcast?
Yeah, I think YouTube offers lots of nice videos, very short and very educative videos about imposter syndrome. For the books, of course, because I started digging into it recently, that's where I discovered the book of Dr. Valerie Young. But for me, it was very specific. It was about successful women and the imposter syndrome. But I am still looking into it. I'm still learning about this phenomenon. So that's why for now, that's a book which really spoke to me. And I talk about this right now. But yeah, I think they're going to be more and more coming. And it's on Amazon. It's audiobook for free. So
Perfect. Very good. And we didn't do it at the beginning. We're going to do it now.
mhm,
You didn't say where you're coming from.
mhm.
So please let the audience know where you're coming from.
I was born in Tajikistan uh, to the Uzbek parents. I was there for 26 years working for United Nations as a educational coordinator, and then we decided that it's time for also to go to University of Concordia in Canada and got the degree. So I got my graduate diploma in community economic development. When I arrived here as international student, I decided to finish my diploma, and then I got an offer from the University of Concordia. I wanted to stay here for a year and work and get my work experience and improve my languages, but I just loved Quebec so much, and I fell in love with Montreal, with diversity, with language, with culture. And I met my current partner, and I fall in love, and you know how it goes, and then I just decided to stay. And then of course a master's degree, and then
Nice.
studying, and working in different government organizations. And today I'm with University of Concord, I'm sorry, like Concordia, University of Montreal, as a coordinator of educational technology at the Center for Teaching and Learning.
You've done so much. So now I would like you to invite the audience or those that are going to be listening, not in English, French, or Russian, but in Uzbek.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like you to invite them to follow the podcast and to listen to you and to the other podcasts that have already passed and the ones that are coming up in the future.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum aziz muxlislar. Bu podkastı mən xohlayıram ki, sizlər hamıları eşitdinglər. Ko'p yaxshi narsalarni shu podkastdan o'rganasizlar. Sizlarga yordam beradi bu podkast. Rahmat.
Thank you very much, Orzu. I really
You're very
appreciate your
welcome.
presence in the podcast today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me. It was a real pleasure to be here with you today.
Thank you. Until next time.
This was Immigrant Podcast with Robinson.